At 7:12 p.m., the woman who taped a citation to my door like it was a love note to control had both wrists clicked into steel beside the HOA clubhouse. Her laminated rule sheet skittered across the sidewalk, and the siren washed blue over a row of perfect brick mailboxes, while she stared at me and whispered, "You can't do this." And I said, "You did this to yourself, because the truth is simple, even when it's loud." Rewind, and I'll tell you how a quiet dad, with a worn tool belt and a yard full of milkweed, ended up there. My name's Jake Nolan. I teach shop at a public high school outside Columbus, Ohio. I fix broken dryers for neighbors on weekends and build theater sets for kids who think a cordless drill is a magic wand. And our little cape on the first cul-de-sac of Cedar Grove Commons was supposed to be a place where my daughter Mia learned to ride a bike, and not a place where a stranger with a clipboard graded our lives. It started at 6:05 a.m. on a Thursday, with 3 knocks precise enough to rattle the coffee in my mug. And there she was, Cheryl Pratt, HOA president. Haircut sharp like a ruler. Edge 2 board members posted behind her like ushers at a funeral phone, already recording smile like a showroom. "Good morning, Mr. Nolan. This property is in violation of Section 8.2.1, non-conforming front landscape. It's native plants." I said Pollinators County program, and she peeled a neon sticker, pressed it to my glass. "Remove all unapproved growth within 48 hours. $200 per day. If non-compliant, we want to help you succeed here. Start with the milkweed." Mia padded in pajama knees, dusty with glitter. "Dad, why is that lady putting a sticker on our house?" And I tried a joke I didn't feel, because some people wake up early thinking your grass is their business. Then came the rhythm pastel envelopes, with polite paragraphs up front, and the real punch buried in paragraph 2 trash bin, visible from street on non-collection day. $50 mailbox, pedestal satin. Not semi-gloss, 7-ed basketball hoop attached to fascia. Remove within 24 hours. $50. You can laugh at 1 mosquito bite, you know, but a dozen will have you clawing your own arm. I stayed polite. I kept a folder. I took time-stamped photos. I screenshotted emails where Cheryl wrote per board discretion like a spell. And I told myself, let it cool. People, calm down. Then a flyer for an emergency session landed at midnight for noon the next day, because of course it did on-street parking restrictions. And I left my pickup at the curb, because my garage was full of plywood for the school play. And at 4:13 a.m., a tow truck took it under a rule the board adopted at 11:58 a.m., 2 minutes before they met, and yeah, that happened. The impound office smelled like hot rubber and stale coffee. The ink on the new policy looked damp, and when I stepped outside with my receipt, there was Cheryl leaning on her white SUV, filming like she owned public air board and forces equally. Mr. Nolan and I felt that little cut on my thumb, where I'd gripped the clipboard too hard, and thought may nothing ank it. Build the record. When the HOA Facebook posted our family as repeat non-compliance children's chalk left on public walkway, and a contractor pressure-washed Mia's smiling sons off the sidewalk to restore uniform appearance, she cried with tiny fists and soaked sneakers, while a car rolled by slow and curious. And that's when I understood this wasn't about tidy. This was about bending me until I matched somebody else's idea of correct. The front entrance sprouted orange fencing and a banner for a signature wall and irrigation to enhance curb appeal. And I noticed the blue markers along the grass because my brain remembers weird details. Stormwater easement, the kind of line you don't cut, if you respect water and the people downstream. By afternoon, a trencher sliced a ribbon across the swale-white PVC bones laid into the dirt. No city permit posted Tluri, sliding toward the curb inlet, and a green pickup with Pratt. Hospitality on the door idled nearby, which didn't mean much until it did. I filmed quiet from the sidewalk, saved the clip to my folder, then walked 2 houses down to the guy who keeps a garage full of history. Hank Rivera retired city code legs like ladders, eyes like calipers. They can't touch that without a permit. He said, call the city. Ask for Inspector Lydia McLean. Tell her Hank sent you, and say, Stormwater Facility, 14B. Lydia met me at the entrance in a vest with a rangefinder on her hip, knelt by the inlet, pressed her fingers into the muck, stood like a verdict stop work order on irrigation, and wall easements aren't decor. Water goes where it wants. My job is to let it. That night, Ohio ripped open, rain came sideways. The entrance pooled over Maple Crest, a sedan flicked its hazards, and floated a few inches left like a boat. The inlet glugged like a clogged throat. Lydia's red tag flapped, and I filmed the whole thing, while my heart beat out a slow metronome. Cheryl posted that the city's order was a difference of interpretation, then uploaded meeting minutes, claiming a vote last month approved the wall, and my neighbor, Tessa Nguyen, a junior attorney with a jungle of houseplants and a mean eye for metadata, texted me at 9:12 p.m. Check the PDF properties created last night at 8:41. Also, Pratt Hospitality is her brother-in-law's LLC. The folder got tabs blue for citations, yellow for money, red for legal, and I filed public record requests, permit histories, emails between Cedar Grove and the city. I lined the tow release time at 4:13 a.m. next to the policy adoption at 11:58 a.m. Because when you can't outshout someone, you outlast them with facts. My pool fob went dead for account review. Mia stood at the gate with a towel we never used and watched other kids cannonball, and that was the quiet bottom, the place where humiliation turns to resolve. If you let it, Hank found me in the driveway pretending to fix a perfectly good alternator. You ready? He said. Ready for what? To stop asking permission to be reasonable. Tessa and I printed a petition under Bylaw 4. 6. Any 25% of homeowners can call a special meeting and a vote of no confidence. We knocked doors for 2 days, and by sunset of day 2 we had 61%. Because even the guy with the golf cart and the perfect edging wants less theater and more honesty. We booked the clubhouse for Tuesday at 6. I built a deck in my garage that smelled like sawdust. And second chances slide, one was the tow time. Next to the rule time slide, 2 was the PDF properties box, like a confession in a blue square. Slide 3 was Lydia's red tag slide. 4 was the invoice to Pratt. Hospitality with Cheryl's initials on the approval line, and I practiced keeping my voice low because anger burns fast. But quiet travels farther. The room packed early. Folding chairs, shoulder to shoulder Sol, and nerves in the air. Phones up like a field of tiny satellites. Cheryl behind a long table with a toy gavel and 2 loyalists sitting like bookends public comment. Is limited to 30 seconds, she said, and I just stood in the aisle because this felt less like court and more like a neighbor problem. We forgot how to solve. I'm not here because my milkweed grows wrong, I said. I'm here because I pay dues and I teach kids not to lie, and Hank, hit the projector slide 1. A murmur rolled across the room, slide 2. Someone near the back said, "That's not a clerical error." Slide 3. A short laugh. "That wasn't happy." Slide 4. A man in a golf shirt. Isn't that her brother-in-law? Out of order, Cheryl said the board has absolute discretion, and Tessa stood like a match read, Bylaw 4.6b. Please? Paper moved slow hand to hand. Cheryl read, homeowners may call for a special meeting, and a vote of no confidence by petition signed by 25% effective immediately upon verification. And Tessa nodded. We verified at the door. We can vote now, or you can step down. My phone buzzed Hank at the back door, sent a photo-fresh slurry, pumping into the swale from a gas-powered rig. 48 minutes before the meeting timestamp stamped, and I held it up. If this is how you fix a problem, I'm done asking nicely. The back door opened like a cue. Lydia walked in with a county deputy vest on clipboard, out voice-level notice of violation. Stop work order. Ignored discharge into a protected conveyance. Personal liability attaches to officers who authorize the work. Cheryl reached for the gavel, and her hand stalled in midair. You can't arrest me for a landscaping disagreement. And the deputy didn't raise his voice either, ma'am. Step to your left hands behind your back, please. The room went silent in the kind of way that makes you hear electricity. The cuffs clicked once, then again, and she looked at me with eyes that said, "This is not how the story ends for me." And I didn't gloat. I set the fallen gavel gently by the microphone and said, "You can vote without her, or vote next week with a temporary committee. But we're done doing things in the dark." That's the satisfying part if you're keeping score, but life stayed messy. 3 neighbors stopped waving. 1 flew a flag that said, "Fences make good neighbors." Like a sermon, the clubhouse smelled like anxiety for a week. The pool fob turned green again. Tessa took a seat on an interim committee. Hank read code into a microphone. With a grin that would have embarrassed younger Hank, Lydia checked the entrance twice in different weather and nodded once, which for a city inspector is basically a parade. I kept the folder, even the first neon sticker with Cheryl's handwriting on the corner, not as a trophy, as a reminder that unchecked righteousness turns into a weapon when nobody watches. Did I do everything right? I don't know. Maybe I took too long to stop being polite. Maybe I could have found an off-ramp before the toe slip was warm. Or maybe some people need to feel large, and the only off-ramp is sunlight and a room full of neighbors who finally say enough. You know what I mean. So tell me where you land. Was I defending my home, or picking a bigger fight than a few fines deserved? HOAs keep order or breed. Bullies, should communities draw lines? Tighter or looser? Drop your take in the comments to call me out. If you think I crossed a line, back me up if you've stared at a neon sticker on your own glass. Hit like if you think sunlight beats discretion. Subscribe if you want more stories from regular people who got cornered and decided to stop backing up and tell me one thing before you go. When someone looks you dead in the eye and says you can't do this, what do you say back?